biggest selling beat, probably made $50,000 off the leases. It has an intro that's almost a minute long. He said, make your intros longer because a longer intro creates suspense and people want to wait for the beat to drop. And your watch time is going to go up. And as we know, if your watch time goes up, your video is more successful on YouTube. The beat that you were talking about is at 2.4 million views on YouTube. So it's my highest viewed beat.
What do you think is the most important thing that people should or producers should be doing to really sell beats? Like, I know there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can go through DMs, you can post on YouTube, but what's the highest form of beat selling for you?
I think it's just making good beats. That's me acknowledging that not every beat I make is a good beat in the sense that it appeals to songwriters and recording artists. But there are some people who swear up and down they make the best beats and they have no idea why their beats don't sell. And then you listen to them and you're like, these drums sound pretty bad, or you're not leaving space for vocals, or that intro is too short or too long. There are obvious improvements that they could make to get to the point where their beats are because nowadays everyone like the average beat that people upload online is mixed well and it sounds good. Pretty much we're past the point, I think, of the majority of music made by so-called non-professionals or amateurs being trash. Most people make decent beats. The average beat is that gets uploaded to the internet is decent. I very rarely hear a beat where I'm like, oh, that's terrible. So if you want to get in, you can't just settle for average because the average producer isn't making a living doing this. You have to find a way to compete within that space, and it's heavily competitive. And I think there are simple ways to stand out, but the least you can do is create music or beats that appeal to the recording artists that you're targeting. And I think that's the hardest part, because I could direct you to a video on how to, with a $3 daily budget, advertise to potential customers on the Meta platform. I could tell you how to set up an email list. I could tell you, which emerging beat selling platforms to upload your tracks to. But ultimately, if people don't like the tracks, or if you're not producing in a way that is conducive to artists writing and recording to those tracks, then that is the reason why you're never going to get to that next level. So I think a lot of it, people swear up and down it's all about marketing or it's about SEO. It's not, man. There are beats with tens of thousands of views on YouTube where they got lucky with the SEO, and those beats are not selling. You can check the BeatStars stats. They have the little link. Click on that, compare the views that it's getting on the actual end of the funnel to what it's getting at the top of the funnel, which is the YouTube view count. They're different. It'll be 10,000 views on YouTube, 90 views on BeatStars. You're like, what is the discrepancy? It's because people didn't like the track enough to follow, the funnel downward to that endpoint, which is the sale.
Yeah, I want to talk about the long intro part, but first, while we're on the topic, I will say it takes, I don't know if humble is the word or just self-reflection, because when I'm looking at my YouTube analytics, s sometimes the beat will have a good click-through rate, you know, it'll have good SEO, but the only thing wrong is that the watch time isn't long enough. So the only thing I can think in my head is I just need to make better beats. So for so long, I was sitting there like just trying to upgrade all of the marketing aspects until I realized, like, if nobody is staying for long on these beats, then that's the problem. I really need to engage the listener enough to actually like the beat. So that's when now I'm really focused on just making better beats as a whole. And I think that's just so slept on. People don't want to admit that they need to make better beats. But if I'm
No,
not
they don't.
wrong, if I'm not wrong, didn't the beat that's featured on the top of your YouTube has around 2 million plays. I heard you in another interview talking about how a beat with a long intro ended up doing very well for you. Was that the
Yep.
beat? So what do you have to say about people who say that you shouldn't have a long intro?
Music is such a mysterious art form. Art is mysterious, period. Because one, you're just creating something out of thin air, and there's a lot of mystery involved in that. I think it's like a magic trick. But also just seeing what people are gonna like, that's super mysterious. I would love to just have that ability to know what's going to work with people, because the stuff that I don't think is going to work oftentimes is what works, and the stuff that I'm like, I know this is going to work, it might work because I do have a good ear and I have a good amount of experience, but it rarely, maybe it's like 50-50, which is a fine ratio for me. I'm happy with that, but it's like a 50-50 shot that it's going to work the way I thought it was going to work. Like the biggest, highest paid placement I ever got was from a track that I liked. It's a song called Hello by an artist named Ted Park that we made back a couple years ago, and we made it together in the studio. And neither of us thought it was a hit single. We were making an intro and we just threw it together in the moment. And that became, one of the first songs of his to hit 1 million streams on Spotify. It got us a deal with Capitol Records and major labels. So to speak to the beat that you were talking about, is at 2.4 million views on YouTube. So it's my highest viewed beat. It has an intro that's almost a minute long. It's like 48, 49 seconds long. And that was a collab. Dirt Boy actually was the one who created that long intro. When I heard it, I was like, this is a cool beat. I just think that intro is too long. He like looped my piano part and just added hand drums. I was like, it's a long ass intro, man. Biggest selling beat, probably made $50,000 off the leases. And it was a
That's
three-way
amazing.
split, but hey, whatever, I'll take it. So I actually saw a video and I forget who made it. It was an up and coming producer who I wasn't familiar with. They made one of those videos on YouTube, like the how to sell beats on YouTube, or I made this much money selling beats on BeatStars type of videos.
The way I got crazy retention on my beats was not only because the beats were fire, but I literally would just make my intros longer. When you have a good melody and you just make the intro long, 9 times out of 10, the artist is gonna wait until the beat drops. So if the intro is like 30 to 40, sometimes even 50 seconds long, your retention is gonna go through the roof. And at that point, all you need is a good thumbnail and your video literally will blow up. Also, I didn't show you guys the channel name, and here it is. It's honestly way simpler than you think. The way I got crazy retention on my beats was not only because the beats were fire, but I literally would just make my intros longer. When you have a good melody and you just make the intro long, 9 times out of 10, the artist is gonna wait until the beat drops.
He said, make your intros longer because a longer intro creates suspense and people want to wait for the beat to drop. And so they're going to wait and your watch time is going to go up. And as we know, if your watch time goes up, then your video is more successful on YouTube. I thought that was an interesting idea because I've never heard anyone say that. It's certainly the strategy used by a lot of successful YouTubers who just draw things out, which has always bothered me, because someone will have a video and it'll be titled, 3 ways to make passive income in 2024. And they start out and they're like, I'm going to tell you 3 ways to make passive income
Yeah.
that you've never heard of. But first, let me show you a tour of my Olympic-sized swimming pool that I just built. Oh, and check this out. I got 3 different Ferraris. This one's a late model. Oh, look, my dog just came in. There's my wife. Like, I don't give a fuck about it. And by the time you just want to hear the 3 ways to make passive income, and by the time those 3 actually come through, you're 10 minutes into the video and it's a 13-minute long video. And you're like, they got me. So does that work? I think as a strategy, it can work. I think it can also completely backfire. So again, it goes back to the magic. The music is magical enough. The music, when it hits people's ears, is an entirely different kind of magic. And I think if it were completely predictable, it wouldn't be as much fun as it is.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. I think I saw the video you're talking about literally last night, about beat
It
selling
was
and
like this
then
young looking dude, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
okay. And I don't know his name, but it was a cool video. It just I had never heard any producer say that.
yeah. I
That
mean,
was,
most
I remember he was secretive too. He's like, I would show you the name of my YouTube channel, but I'm gonna just keep that a secret because I'm trying to build it up and I don't need a bunch of producers fucking up my algorithm. I'm just like, all right. I wanted to see that channel, but yeah, I think we saw the same one. That's the same one, right?